As WorldPride kicked off and Sydney turned on the style, a substantial win for the queer community.
I read the legislation yesterday afternoon. There is no place in our state for harmful practices.
The New South Wales Premier belatedly joining the opposition leader in backing Alex Greenwich's private members bill, banning gay conversion therapy.
My legislation will look at conversion practices that seek to suppress or convert someone's sexuality or gender identity. We really took a survivor-led process.
Gay conversion therapy is a catch-all term for a variety of medical, psychological and faith-based practices, ranging from prayer and counselling to hypnosis, exorcism, even electroconvulsive therapy. All built on the belief that same-sex attraction is an illness that can be cured.
We know that damaging conversion practices cause lifelong harm and suffering for survivors.
Their level of post-traumatic stress disorder, their level of suicide attempts can be 3 to 4 times higher than other gay and trans people who already have elevated levels of mental distress.
Queensland, Victoria and the ACT already have bans in place, with WA and now New South Wales set to follow suit.
We have to get the law right, though, and there are difficult legal issues.
But Tassie, South Australia and the Northern Territory are all dragging their heels. Also, not all legislation is created equal. Queensland's laws, for instance, only apply to health service providers.
The Victorian law is stronger and it looks at efforts which could be done in a church environment or by a psychologist or psychiatrist or mental health professional.
So, will these laws give New South Wales something to be proud of?
It is really important, the progress that has been made today.
Well, Chris Csabs is a survivor of conversion practices. He joins us now. Chris, as someone who has been through this, just how important are these changes?
They're very important because we know that this causes really lasting damage to people. I've known survivors that have been out of conversion movement for 10 years or more and they're still dealing with the damage from what they went through. And I think it's important that we deal with this now so that future generations don't have to and that our kids now don't have to.
Thankfully, there's not that many people that know what this is like to go through. What was it like for you?
It's pretty twisted because it's something that really touches every part of you, you know. It started with an ideology that made me believe that I was broken or that I had this part of me that was broken and that needed to be fixed. And so I spent many years trying to search for that part and trying to search for what the cause of that brokenness was. Of course, there was no brokenness, but that time left me pretty much wanting to die. And, you know, it's about 14 years later now and I'm still dealing with what happened and some of the things that I was taught during that time, and it still affects me now.
Is there something in particular that's been the hardest to overcome, to sort of rewire in your own brain and your own understanding of yourself?
Yeah, so you're searching for something that's wrong with you, and it could be anything. It could be anywhere. It could be in your family history. It could be in your relationship with your parents. It could be in your childhood. And so it's a really specific type of trauma that kind of makes you rip apart things that are very sacred to most people.
You seem excited or positive about this legislation potentially coming through, but does legislating against this necessarily change some of the attitudes which lead to these practices?
Look, the ideology that underpins these practices is pretty rife, particularly throughout a lot of religious communities. But I think the good thing particularly about Alex Greenwich's bill that he's brought forward is that it is based on Victoria's fabulous legislation, which was survivor-led, and which is based on a civil scheme that focuses on education. And really, that's what it's about. It's about education and prevention.
Chris, when was it that you realised that you weren't broken and that there was nothing wrong with you?
I was very lucky to have very loving parents who watched kind of this decline over several years as I engaged in these conversion practices. And my mum particularly became very worried about me. She said that, you know, you've stopped singing, you've stopped laughing, you're just kind of a shell of who who you used to be. You're a shell of Chris. And one day they were so worried, Mum took me out for coffee and she challenged me directly and she said, "You've been doing this for 7 years. Have you ever thought that maybe God hasn't healed you because there's nothing wrong with you?" And I didn't immediately go, "Oh my gosh, wow," and sort of change my mind about anything. Actually, at first I was a bit frustrated. I said, "But you kind of encouraged me to go down this path when I was a teenager, you know." But with the help of my parents and sort of with them having gone through their own, I guess, change in their ideology, I guess they helped me to finally see that there's absolutely nothing broken about my sexuality.
Chris, it's Mardi Gras season at the moment. Sydney's
Yes.
hosting WorldPride. Are you at a point in your life now where you can sort of lean in and enjoy being gay? Because it's pretty great.
It is pretty great. Yeah, look, I'm definitely going to be enjoying WorldPride with my boyfriend. I've been in a happy relationship for 5 years, which is fantastic. And yeah, absolutely, I'll be enjoying WorldPride.
Good on you, mate.
Oh, Chris, you're an absolute superstar. Thank you so much for your time tonight and for sharing your story. Happy Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Such a beautiful human being, and I'm so glad that we had a chance to speak with him. I feel a little bit emotional because I just think of those young people who had no choice in undergoing some of these therapies, and the progress is heartening, but we've got such a long way to go.
I know, still.
And of course, if you find yourself in any need of help for any reason, crisis support is always available 24/7 through Lifeline on 13 11 14.